Today I'm going to show you the Secretlab Magnus desk range, comparing both the standard and the Pro models, taking a look at the features, talking about the durability and how they've held up after nearly a year of use, and despite the rather high price tag, how these desks have absolutely blown me away with all the tiny little details. So welcome back to another episode of STU'S Reviews. I must make sure that you guys know that this is an episode that is completely unbiased. I will always give my honest opinion on both the good and bad bits of a product. But in exchange for this honest opinion, I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button, because I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. So now you know this is going to be an honest review. Let me tell you something straight off the bat. I've loved the Secretlab Magnus desks far more than I thought I would. Assembly was a relatively easy process, much like most of the Secretlab range, although it's a bit bloody heavy, so having two people to move it around wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. Now, it doesn't come in too many parts, and it didn't take too long to assemble. You've got the top, the legs, the cable tray for the underneath, but perhaps the most difficult part was the actual leatherette top known as the mag pad. This is a great idea because it protects the desks and allows customizability, which means that you can replace the top easily enough as well if you damage it. Now, it magnetizes to the worktop to form this really smooth surface that won't budge even a millimeter when installed. And there's quite a few different options available on their website. But the difficulty with this bit was getting it aligned correctly. It took me several goes to get it on right. Either it would be too far off one way and too little on the other, and then if I tried it again, it would be completely different angle by the time I'd laid it out. By the end, I was ready to scream. Cheese grating my own kneecaps may have been more fun than repeating that process over and over again until it went on straight. I mean, Jesus Christ. Anyway, once it's assembled and the mag pad is on, you're good to go. On its own, it's actually a really solid, weighty piece of furniture that has some great design choices. These mag pads, despite causing me long-lasting mental crisis, are actually a really good idea, as I mentioned, but it's the built-in cable tray that does it for me. With the large rear hinge cover to access this cable run, it means that I can quickly add or remove stuff without it being a pain in the arse undoing a billion cable ties underneath my desk. And also being able to access this cable run through the hatch underneath helps a lot too. It's just a brilliant integrated design that makes your workspace a really neat affair. However, to get the most out of this desk, you're gonna want to take a look at some of the extra accessories, which is what essentially superpowers this desk. Now, the first is the cable management kit, which is an absolute must. The desk is largely comprised of metal, which is magnetic, and the management kit makes full use of that fact quite considerably. You have these trays which magnetize to the legs to create runs which can hide the power cords down any of the four legs, rather than just dangling them down behind the back of the desk like I'm used to. It also comes with these cable anchors which magnetize to the edge of the cable run, which makes sure that the cables from the products on the desk are nearly invisible and run directly behind the product. Now, if you only get one accessory for this desk, that's the one to get, I can assure you now. You can also get a magnetic RGB strip that fits perfectly in the cable tray at the back, using the magnets to stick to the underside. You can see it better when I lift the little tray up like this. It sort of reflects off it a little bit better so you can see it. I think I'll leave it like that for now. When I first set my original Magnus up, they didn't have any smart functionality, but since launch, thankfully, they've brought out a collab with Nanoleaf, which looks great and gives full smart control. Now, another accessory that might go unnoticed is the headphone stand, but this is perhaps one of the ones that I use the most. This magnetizes to the underside of the desk anywhere you want, but what's special about it is the sheer strength of the magnets. To give you an idea of just how much weight this mount can hold, I actually have a second one that I use to hang the Oculus Quest on, which even has the extended battery head strap attached. In total, this headset weighs at around 820 grams, which is over double that of a set of headphones, which normally weigh in between 300 and 400 grams. And that are some of the heavier options as well, like the Razer Kraken Kitty Edition. I just love how all of it comes together to make a really neat package that solves a lot of problems when it comes to keeping your desk neat. And thinking about it, I think it has huge potential for other modular magnetic accessories as well. But anyway, for design and accessory options, this desk gets a 10 out of 10 for ingenuity, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't do more. But before I talk about that, and before I talk about the cost and durability, let's take a look at what the Magnus Pro has to offer. This is the Magnus Pro. It's possibly one of the best motorized standing desks that I've tested so far, and surprisingly, that's not because I can sit on it while it goes up and down. Let me show you why. With all of this added tech, I thought that it was going to be a lot harder to assemble, but turns out it was actually really easy. All it takes is hiring a cameraman to do it for you. But before we dive into the Magnus Pro, I want to give a shout out to this episode's sponsor, TubeBuddy. We actually use TubeBuddy already, so when they offered to sponsor this episode, how could I say no? TubeBuddy is designed to assist content creators in optimizing and managing their YouTube channels through a range of powerful tools and features, such as extensive keyword researcher, deeper insights into video analytics, SEO Studio, short-form content suggestions, and my personal favourite, the absolutely exquisite thumbnail tools. With TubeBuddy, I have the ability to run A/B testing to help pick the best thumbnail possible that will generate a higher click-through rate. All you have to do is pick a video, choose an alternative thumbnail, and hit Run Test. TubeBuddy will then run a test over either a preset amount of time or enough time to give you meaningful data before giving you a ton of analytics on impressions and click-through rate so that you can choose the most successful thumbnail to use. It even provides heat maps using AI to show just how eye-catching your thumbnail is, and although this is currently an experimental feature, it still provides useful insight and shows just how forward-thinking TubeBuddy is. It's absolutely free to download it as well and get started with some of the incredible tools that they provide, and by using my discount code STU'Buddy20 you can get 20% off subscriptions to some of TubeBuddy's premium functionality. So if you're a creator just like me, then this is not one to miss. I'll drop a link below so that you guys can check out TubeBuddy for yourselves. Now back to the Magnus Pro. Like the standard Magnus, you're going to need 2 people to move it around properly if you don't want to damage it and yourself, because this one is super heavy. One box is 39 kilograms and the other is 30 kilograms, and when it's all assembled, this thing weighs nearly 70 kilograms. For comparison, I'm about 100 kilograms, so it's really bloody heavy. And this is for good reason, because you just obviously saw a few moments ago, this is capable of lifting a very large, middle-aged man without a problem. In fact, the mechanism is so robust that it's capable of taking a load of 120 kilograms, which is insane. Although it's probably not impossible, I don't think it's particularly common to have a computer setup that weighs more than 120 kilograms. So this load-bearing capability is amazing, if a little bit of an overkill from Secretlab. But what's most surprising is how smooth the mechanism runs, even with 100 kilograms of prime British meat on it. The mechanism for the height adjustment just works absolutely smoothly. And this awesome height adjustment is done through the control panel on the front, which also shows the current height with a little display down here. And you can set presets to change this quite quickly between certain heights that you might use most, which is pretty cool. This one's going to raise it all the way up, and if I stop it here and tap number 3, it should just bring it back down to the height that it was at. And this makes it super easy to change between whatever you're doing. Now, what I really like about this control panel is that it's integrated directly into the desk itself rather than being an external control panel that's bolted to the underside. Often this type, which sits externally, is always being caught and knocked about by things, especially chair arms. So the fact that on the Magnus, it sits flush is a really, really nice touch to the overall integrated design that might go unappreciated by people who haven't experienced otherwise. But believe me, if you have, then this will make all of the difference. Now, another nice touch is that you can lock it as well with a little switch just on the side here, and that disables the buttons and turns the light display off, meaning that either you or your toddler who likes to press buttons won't accidentally change the height whilst you're in the middle of a really important Zoom meeting. And that is how you pick the right lottery numbers. No, don't press that. What are you doing? Don't press... anyone have any questions at all? Anyone? No? Oh dear. The rest of the design innovations from the standard Magnus are also on here, such as the magnetic attachments and the smart LED strip, but because of the mechanical legs, it has a few more innovations to solve some big problems with traditional standing desks, starting with down here on the floor. Now, this is a power cord for the desk that actually comes out of the bottom of the leg. Now, in normal standing desks, that's it. That's the power cord for the mechanical movement. However, if we follow the desk leg and take a peek at the very, very top, just up here, it actually provides an outlet built directly into the cable run above. This means that I can plug in a multi-port adapter hidden inside this section, such as the Miros Smart Surge Protector, which gives me 6 smart controlled plug sockets and 4 smart controlled USB ports hidden snugly away out of sight, but able to be controlled through my smart home. So if anyone's interested in that solution, I'll link it below for you. But a multi-port smart plug at least is the way to go with this one for sure. The only thing that's visible is the singular power cord on the bottom of the leg. This is just so cool, and it will tick, without a doubt, all of those boxes for people that want to keep their desk setups really clean and neat, and those who have a kink for cable management. Even for people like me, who absolutely hate trying to keep cables neat, it makes it much easier for me, certainly so I can just chuck everything down the rainbow abyss at the back of the desk and never look down there ever again. The slight downside here of the Magnus Pro over the standard Magnus is that this cable run doesn't have an access port on the underneath like the standard Magnus does, which actually I found to be really, really useful, and without it, it can be a little bit fiddly in the back here trying to get things plugged in. Even still, this cable run and the integrated power cable solves big problems of cables getting caught when changing the desk height. Now, I know a few people with more traditional standing desks without this simple yet effective cable management trick of running it through the legs. Now, they've had at least a handful of mishaps with cables becoming unplugged or lamps being wrenched off the desks, simply because the cables weren't long enough to stretch down to wherever they're plugged into when the desk gets set to full height. And by people, I mean me. Now, there may be a few of you wondering, but what about network cables? Won't they still have to run down from the desk if you're hardwiring in? And you're right, but seemingly like everything else, Secretlab have thought of a solution to that too, with the LAN extension leg, which sits directly against the desk legs and extends or contracts at the same time. Although I've not had a chance to test this yet, it's still a pretty cool innovation in the overall integrated setup. There's one more dedicated accessory that Secretlab do for the Pro, which is definitely worth a big mention, and that's the under-desk PC mount. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory what that does, but it's necessary for those who don't want their computer on the desk, but still want to be able to use the height adjustments, because if it weren't mounted to the desk, it would just rip all the cables and the cords out the back as you increase the height of the desk to stand up. Now, this mount fits a wide variety of different sizes with its adjustable clamps, but there is a minimum and maximum size, so it will be worth checking out here if your PC will fit into this. What I can say with certainty and disappointment, though, is that you'll struggle with consoles. The PS5, for example, is too thin and too small to be held securely, which is a bit of a shame. So Secretlab, if you're watching this, pretty please make a console mount as well. Anyway, let's answer the most important question that I can hear you guys screaming over the screens. Why would you go for the Magnus Pro over the Standard? Well, obviously the extra bits that make your setup neater, I've just run through, are part of the reason. But the main point is that standing desks offer so much more flexibility than conventional setups, and personally, I don't think I could ever go back to a regular stationary desk. Standing desks are supposedly, if the experts are to be believed, healthier for you. Having looked into the research, though, that's available out there, it comes across as slightly conflicting, specifically on this point. So I can't say for certain that this will put extra years on your life, but what it will do is offer you a break from sitting and certainly save your joints from seizing up in that hunched over goblin position that we're all prone to sitting in whilst at our desks. But putting the supposed health benefits to one side, for me, one of the biggest benefits of standing desks is that it offers the freedom to move around quickly. If I'm busy in the gallery and need a workspace that I can jump on and off quickly, being able to bring one up to my height so that I can walk up to it and use it quickly and then continue on is really handy. And it consequently means that when the desk is in its high position, I can then slide my 2019 Secretlab Titan all the way underneath, saving space here in the gallery, which is a particularly long room, but very narrow, and therefore making it easier to move about in. But there's one large elephant in the room, however, that may indeed prevent you from going for the Pro over the Standard, and that is the price. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the durability and the longevity of the Magnus range. Now, the original Magnus I've been using for well over a year, possibly nearer 2, and from the shots you can see that it's in fantastic condition. I actually can't believe how well it stood up to the numerous whiskey, wine and all manner of other spillages and rigorous gaming sessions that it's been through. But then again, after testing Secretlab's PU leather in my recent durability test episode, which I'll link below, it's easy to understand how this desk still looks like new, and the material is really super durable. In my opinion, it deserves a round of applause. And although the magnetic tops are an absolute pain to get aligned, this is a huge benefit of them. If you do, in fact, somehow manage to destroy your surface, which you'd have to try bloody hard to, and you can simply buy a replacement top and have it back to brand new. Something which just generally isn't an option for modern desks without replacing the entire desk top. I think that this is a big design choice that Secretlab have gotten right, because it means that in theory, this desk could last you a lifetime. And for me, I really love that it's obvious they've taken inspiration from antique leather top writing desks like mine, which has probably been around before the formation of the British Empire. The leather tops on these can easily be replaced to refreshen the desk and make it last another century, which is exactly what you can do with the Magnus range. The thing is, I've really yet to find something that I'm not keen on about both of these desks. I truly think they've nailed it with this desk range, except for one thing: the price. I feel slightly conflicted by this. The standard Magnus desk on its own comes to about £450, which is pretty steep to say the least, and that's even without the desk mat. If you wanted the desk mat, the cable management system, the smart lighting and headphone mount, it will set you back a whopping £650 without any discounts. And if you wanted the equivalent in the Pro range and with the underdesk mount, it will cost you over £1,000, which is an eye-watering amount. Now, the conflict I have here is that on one hand, that's a disgusting amount of money to pay for a desk, especially when you can buy something for under £200 from your local IKEA. But then on the other hand, there really is nothing quite like these desks in terms of design, ingenuity, and quality. And in my very first Secretlab episode, back when I reviewed the Secretlab Titan 2019, I mentioned then that spending £450 on a chair was comedic. But after nearly 4 years of constant use, I now appreciate the reason why these cost so much. Because they last. I've had no other product, especially office equipment, that has gotten so much use over so many years, yet look like they were bought last week. I consider Secretlab gear a massive investment, and yes, it might cost 2 or 3 times as much as your bargain basement stuff from IKEA or some cheap Chinese brand, but I can certainly say that these will last you much, much longer. So, if you're prepared to think long-term with your purchase of a Secretlab desk, rather than comparing to a cheaper, poorly designed and poorly built alternative that you'll end up replacing within a few years, I can promise you that you won't regret this decision. So on your birthday in the year 2083, where your children have lovingly bought you a digital copy of Modern Warfare 46 for the inflated value of 12 grand, they'll sit you down at your Secretlab Magnus desk that you bought 60 years earlier after watching this episode. I want you to come back here and thank me for the fact it probably looks like it's in better condition than your rapidly aging, wrinkled body. I mean, I probably won't be around in 60 years. That's a bit dark, isn't it? But my family will see the thanks and the comment if YouTube's around. This could outlast YouTube. Anyway, those are some pretty dark thoughts, but putting those to one side, seriously, despite the price, these are hands down the best desks that I've ever tested, and quite possibly the best desks that money can buy right now, even if it means spending quite a lot of it. If you enjoyed today's episode, go and check out my Secretlab durability episode, where I test how durable Secretlab chairs are in some very scientific tests, but it will give you a good idea about how durable the Magnus certainly is anyway. And I will drop a link to all my other Secretlab stuff in the description as well, so you can check those out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe as well, and I'll see you guys back for another episode of STU'S Reviews soon.